Hi, I'm Ben, and welcome to my book corner. Today I'm looking at a book that I actually probably would have never come across if it wasn't for the author themselves. I'll touch on that in a moment. That book is One for the Road by Jeremy M. Moore. So the author reached out to me a couple of months ago with the potential of offering me a couple of his books to review on the channel. As I am UK based and they are based in North America, it wasn't something we could actually do. But I decided to actually check one of those books out anyway, and I'm really glad I did because I really enjoyed this. As normal, we shall look at the story, characters and world building, as well as some positives and negatives about this book. So let's just jump straight in. So the story follows Miguel, who finds his way into what appears to be at first an abandoned bar. Things quickly take a turn when a barmaid randomly appears and the building itself starts to almost shift, as if it just suddenly has always been different, and it does this throughout the course of the story. And what we discover is this is the house that the departed go to before they pass on to whatever their afterlife is. So it's almost like a party for all the dead, and they all sort of reenact stuff within their own memories. What makes this unique, however, is that Miguel arrived before opening time of the house, which has never happened before. They have a mystery element there, and also he can interact with the memories of others and help complete their memories, which again is an unusual thing. You then get him coming to terms with the fact that he is actually dead, and the fact that actually maybe he should stay here, or maybe he should pass on, and you sort of have this period of discovery of what this place is and what it does and how important it is for people getting their memories before they pass on. It's a really interesting premise and it's a really interesting story, and I really enjoyed this one. So onto the world building, and this is a bit of a mixed bag, but you'd expect that because of the nature of what this story is. It's made clear that this is set around about present time, give or take 10 years, but you have a lot of different cultures sort of coalescing in one place, so you don't really have any deep dives into the world in general. What you do get, however, is some acknowledgement of how the sort of myth around the afterlife has changed, and how actually even the people who run the house, like Madame Huertas, do not know what comes next for these people. It touches on the fact that there used to be 3 sisters here, now it's just Huertas herself, and how she's actually married to the Reaper is also touched on as well. You've got the fact that she stayed to help the lost ones, who are people that couldn't pass on, and she wasn't happy with this, and she wants to make sure everyone does. You also get the fact that everyone's sort of final memories that they relived before they picked up is unique to them, and how different that can be, and also how it's generally an ancestor or someone that comes to collect them, so a lost family member, or in the case of one person, their pet cat, who I think was called Meowster, if I remember correctly. Could be wrong on that, don't quote me. And that was really sweet, but you also have a little bit of a darker side, because there's the acknowledgement here that babies and infants do pass on as well, and they also need to have their own passing on and their own collection where people come and get them, and that is also acknowledged in here. And you've got the different personalities of the people that pass through. You also do touch on the lost ones. I can't say too much about them in case I spoil the story, but that's acknowledged, and that's quite an interesting twist for them as well, which I really enjoyed. So the world building here was actually really good in terms of the myth of the place, even if the actual world itself was understandably, due to the nature of it, not built out. I would have liked a little bit more time to have even more in-depth look throughout the various different rooms of the house, but what was here was really good. In terms of characters, you follow Miguel through this, and there's a sort of a trope here where there's not quite amnesia at play, but the memories are just beyond reach, and he's got to kind of unlock them, and he does that by interacting with various things throughout, and also the drinks that they give offer, for want of a better word, clarity. They kind of give you a rush of some or all of the memories, and that becomes an important plot point later on in the book, where he gets a drink of almost the pure stuff, for want of a better word. Past that, there isn't a great deal of characterization here, or character depth I should say. He comes across as a fairly normal everyday guy who was a loving husband and who has possibly been taken before his time and just wants to help people and feels guilty when he doesn't. You do get plenty of interactions with several other characters as well. You get quite a bit of time with the barmaid Raquel, who turns out to be a fallen angel, who has quite a spiky personality and is quite abrasive towards others. You get the entertainer Juan Pedro, who is very much wants to be the showman and had this dream of always being on centre stage. And of course you have Madame Huertos, who is the patron of the house, for want of a better word, who sort of runs everything to make sure people do pass on. And she of course has her own motives for this. What really makes this is the interaction between Miguel and all the different characters, and how that changes, because initially he's very distrustful, as you would. He doesn't realise he's dead, and because he's got that character arc of why am I here, all I want is a drink, to oh my god I'm dead, to well what does that mean and why is stuff so different for me, and it comes to a really natural conclusion at the end, which is also really well done. The other characters, whilst you don't spend a huge amount of time with them, have just enough there to give them some personality, and there's some clear delineation between all of them. In an odd way, the one that gets the least is Madame Huertos, but that is because she's perhaps in many ways the most not human of all the characters in this. And there's some nice interaction between them all as well, and the way it comes together at the end is actually really sweet and is really well done. So there's good character work here, especially for a book that is relatively on the short side. Well, that fetches me to the pros and cons, and as I've already touched on, I actually really enjoyed this. I do like my Central American sort of look at mythology and that sort of stuff, so for me this is like catnip, to be honest. The negatives, I'd have liked to spend a little bit more time with the sort of ancillary characters, especially the Maria trio. I would have also liked to see more interaction with some of the other memories. On saying that, this is not an especially long book, so obviously it's been quite truncated. I do feel it could have worked better with a slightly longer page count, so to speak. In terms of the positives, I think there's a real natural growth here for the main character Miguel, and how he works through his realization to his grief and to his acceptance. That's really well done, and it's an interesting twist on the mystery, as well as why he's come early, which is the first time for anyone ever, which it's a mystery that no one really understands at the start of this, and it's wrapped up quite neatly right near the end, and again it's a natural wrap up. I do like some of the world building that's in here, even though some of it in its own way is quite sad, like the stuff with the babies. But the fact that even the people who run the house don't know what comes next for these souls. They just know that someone comes to collect them. It's normally someone from their past or their memories. And the fact that they're here to give them almost like a going away party, I thought was really good as well. Now, in terms of a tier rating, this goes in a high B tier for me. The only thing that really holds it back, as I've already said, is the page length. I would have really liked this to be a longer book, but I really enjoyed this, and I'm really glad that I found this, because again, as I touched on at the beginning, I wouldn't have come across this book if the author hadn't have reached out initially to me, and I'm really glad I decided to still check it out. But that's my thoughts. What are yours? Have you read any of these books? If not, go and check them out. I really enjoyed this. He does have other books as well. I may review one of those in the future. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. I'll catch you all next time.